most powerful politician in Britain didn't even command the support of half of his own MPs tonight. Almost half the Conservative Parliamentary Party tried to wreck a law that would allow gay people to get married to one another. They failed, but their defiance confirmed the chasm between the leadership and the supposedly swivel-eyed loons they command. We've been to Clacton-on-Sea to check the ocular alignment of the Grassroots.
I've spent the day looking Conservative activists here in Clacton straight in the eye, and I can report there's not a swiveller among them.
We talked to MPs and to party members, united in conservatism, divided in what that means. So, a bill which would make gay marriage in England and Wales legal has been supported by the House of Commons after a deal between the Tory leadership, the Lib Dems and Labour tonight. But the outcome of the votes tonight is less the issue than the depth of the split in the Conservative Party and the state of David Cameron's leadership. What with this and Europe and his tennis pal accused of calling the men and women who get the party elected swivel-eyed loons, the Prime Minister looks increasingly like a man going mine detecting by stamping his foot on the ground. And having made such a big deal of the issue of gay marriage, David Cameron didn't even turn up to speak in the debate today. David Grossman is here to explain where we are. So first of all, the vote.
Well, the government got its way. An amendment that was seen as a grubby deal by some Conservative opponents of same-sex marriage got through with the support of Labour, with the support of the Liberal Democrats. In the end, only around 70 Conservatives voted for another amendment. Let me give you some background to all of that. This is all very complicated for the simple reason there was no simple way of defeating the government on the main issue. Instead, a group of Conservative opponents of same-sex marriage coalesced around this idea of extending civil partnerships from simply same-sex couples to heterosexual couples, and that would infinitely complicate matters, we were told. It could have added £4 billion to the Treasury bill and 2 years to the course of the bill, getting that into law. So that was defeated. But it was a very spirited debate. Here's a flavour of what went on today.
Whether you're young or old, whether you're deeply religious or assertively secular, there are real views and concerns. Looking at the polling, depending on what question you ask, you'll come out with a different figure about whether you're for or against. The nation is as divided as indeed the Conservative Parliamentary Party on this. Indeed, we picked an issue where we're very much in touch with the nation by showing our division. But Mr. Speaker, what we need to do is ensure that, at the very least, that we properly protect those who don't agree with the state in the way they want to redefine marriage.
I fear that the playing field is not being levelled. I believe that the pendulum is now swinging so far the other way, and there are plenty in the aggressive homosexual community who see this as but a stepping stone to something even further.
What if a registrar were to turn down an application from somebody to get married on grounds of race? What would we think about that? Now, is it the position of my honourable friends or any honourable member in this House that that registrar should be free to do so? And if it is not, and I hear a deafening silence, why do we think that they should be free to do it in relation to same-sex marriage, when that same-sex marriage will be lawful according to the bill?
And he's not just got problems with some of his own backbenchers, but also with his Grassroots.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, the problems today we've concentrated on are in the chamber, but over the weekend, these disobliging remarks by somebody allegedly very close to David Cameron, talking about the Grassroots activists being swivel-eyed loons, such as their interest in matters like same-sex marriage. David Cameron's written an email tonight to try and quieten them down, but I've been to Clacton-on-Sea in Essex today to try and gauge the opinion of activists, the voluntary party there, and I found quite a lot of people who are pretty disaffected with the leadership of the Conservative Party right now.
In this part of Essex, local Conservatives will tell you they're pleased to buck one national trend. Their association membership is growing. It helps having an MP unafraid to challenge the party leadership, but even so, they are not all happy. Yesterday, the constituency chairman, Delyth was delivering a letter to the PM signed by 34 local chairmen and former chairmen complaining about the policy of same-sex marriage. But, more than that, accusing the leadership of treating the membership with contempt. Today, back in her Clacton office, it was very clear her sense of anger and disappointment hadn't diminished any.
I actually do believe that a number of people in central government at the moment are totally unaware of what the real issues are, the things that people are really experiencing, what their concerns are, the struggle that people have. You know, and I don't think it helps, and this is very much a personal thing which I've picked up from lots of members. It doesn't help that our Prime Minister doesn't seem to learn from some of the feedback he's getting.
And when you hear the terms that some allegedly, although they deny it, use about people like you in private, what do you think about those?
Are you referring to the alleged comment that was made?
I didn't want to mention any sort of
well, do please,
swivel-eyed loons then.
Yeah. Well, personally, I hope I've got a sufficient sense of humour to say I've been called much worse things than that in my time. However, if I believed that to be true...
That they'd said it?
Yes. And if there is any truth in it whatsoever, I would be absolutely appalled.
To show me this wasn't just a personal issue, Delyth introduced me to some Clactonian conservatives of the same view. The venue, very different from the Blue Boar Smokehouse in Westminster, where the swivel-eyed comments were allegedly made.
When you hear these comments about swivel-eyed loons, what do you think of that?
I mean, the people that make them, you know, are they genuine about what they're saying, or is it just something you say off the spot? You know, is it something you wish you can take back? You know, I would say that you respect opinion regardless of what it is. You know, people are entitled to their view. You know, comments like that are probably not helping things, but people say them, and that's their freedom of speech. But it certainly doesn't help things.
Well, I think sometimes they're trying to grab the headlines. I don't think it helps, especially at Grassroots. I mean, we are very hard working here, and those sort of comments aren't very good.
Do you feel like you're in the same party as David Cameron?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends how his particular message on certain issues.
The question all political parties wrestle with is this: how do you hang on to your core voters and still attract enough new voters to make some progress come election time? The assumption behind that calculation, though, is often this: that your core supporters have nowhere else to go. They're loyal. They're going to keep voting for you election after election. If that was ever a true assumption, it's not anymore.
Ron Levy used to be a Conservative Party Constituency Association chairman as well as a councillor. Now he bats for UKIP.
How does the gay marriage issue play with voters that were Conservative or are Conservative?
I think it plays a really, really big part, not just because of the gay marriage issue, but because of the way he did it. He has no mandate to do it. He didn't get feedback from the party Grassroots or from the party members. He said they carried out a survey, and that the survey showed that the majority of people were in favour of it. That just isn't true, and he knew it.
Back at the Chippy, the local Conservative chair is clear what's causing the UKIP vote to swell.
I think it's for the basic reason that they are still sticking a little bit to their right-wing attitudes, if I'm frank with you. That's the only possible thing I can think of.
They're outflanking you on the right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've probably veered too much to the left.
It's not just here in Clacton that the Tories are facing this challenge. Tonight, an internet poll may worry David Cameron. UKIP on 22%, just 2 points behind the Conservatives.